He was the one person I hated my entire life. The alpha I competed with, fought with, and swore I would never lose to. But when I woke up in a hospital bed, with no memory of who I was, the first thing I did was reach for him and call him my husband. And the worst part wasn't that I forgot everything. It was the way he looked at me, like he knew I wasn't supposed to love him and still chose not to correct me. The first thing Elric Snow felt was the cold. Not sharp, not painful, just empty. Like something was missing, and he didn't know what it was. His eyes slowly opened. White light above him. A quiet room. The faint smell of antiseptic. Nothing felt familiar. Nothing made sense. Until a voice. Low. Controlled. You're awake. Elric turned his head slowly and saw him. Zephyr Knox. Tall. Still. Standing too far away. And for some reason, that distance hurt more than anything else. His lips parted before he could think. Zephyr? The name came out naturally. Like it belonged to him. Like it had always belonged to him. And somehow, just saying it made his chest feel a little less empty. But something was wrong. Zephyr didn't move. Didn't come closer. Didn't reach for him. Elric frowned slightly, confusion melting into a soft, wounded pout. Why are you standing so far away? No answer. The silence stretched, and something inside him tightened. Come here, he said softly this time. Not a command. Not a challenge. Just a quiet request. Zephyr stepped closer, but not enough. Still that distance. Still that invisible line. Elric's expression fell completely. His fingers tightened weakly against the sheets. Why are you being like this? His voice was softer now. Fragile. And then the words slipped out, without permission. I'm cold, you should hold me. His hand lifted slowly. Reaching. Expecting. Like it was something he had every right to ask for. But Zephyr didn't take it. Not immediately. And that hesitation, it hurt. Elric's lips pressed together faintly. His eyes softened, then dimmed. Are you mad at me? He asked quietly. Is it because I drove like that? His voice trembled slightly. Because I got hurt. A pause. Then softer. So you're upset. With me, right? Zephyr's expression changed. Just for a second. Shock. Sharp. Unhidden. But Elric misunderstood it completely. That's why, he whispered. That's why you're so cold to me now. His hand reached again. This time more urgently. Fingers brushing against Zephyr's sleeve. Holding on. Like he was afraid the distance would grow again. Don't do that, his voice cracked. Just a little. You used to stay close. He leaned forward weakly. You used to hold me whenever I said I was cold. His grip tightened. Why won't you now? Silence. Heavy. Breathing felt harder. Or, his voice dropped to a whisper. Do you just not love me anymore? That landed. Hard. Are you tired of me? His fingers tightened again. But you said, his voice softened, almost breaking. You said you'd love me forever. Zephyr moved. Fast. Closing the distance in one step. His hand caught Elric's wrist. Firm. Grounding. Elric. His voice was lower now. Tighter. Don't say things like that. A pause. His brows furrowed. Confused. Shaken. What are you talking about? Then, quieter. What are we? The question hung in the air. Heavy. Wrong. Elric blinked at him. Completely confused. What do you mean? A faint frown. A small, hurt pout. We're married. No hesitation. No doubt. You're my husband. He searched Zephyr's face again. Slower this time. More fragile. Don't tell me. His voice dropped. Soft. Breaking. You don't even want to admit I'm your wife anymore. That hit deeper than anything else. Zephyr froze. Completely. For the first time, he looked shaken. Not controlled. Not distant. Just shaken. His grip loosened slightly. Then released. He stepped back. Half a step. Like he needed space to think. To breathe. To understand what was happening. His gaze flicked to the monitors. Then back to Elric. Something in his eyes shifted. Fast. Dangerous. Stay here. His voice was calm again. Too calm. He turned immediately. Phone already in hand. Get the doctor in here. Now. No hesitation. No doubt. When he turned back, his eyes lingered on Elric. Longer this time. As if trying to understand what broke, what changed, and what had just begun. Because one thing was clear. Even without his memories, Elric Snow still chose him. The doctor didn't speak immediately. He stood by the bed, scanning the reports again, his expression careful, measured, as if choosing every word before letting it out. Then he looked up at Zephyr Knox. His condition is unusual, he said calmly. There's no severe brain damage. Physically, he's stable. A brief pause. But his memory isn't. Zephyr's jaw tightened slightly. Explain. The doctor nodded. It appears his memories are disordered. Not completely gone, just rearranged. Misplaced. He may remember things incorrectly or attach the wrong meanings to people. Zephyr's gaze darkened, flicking briefly toward the bed where Elric lay, still clutching the sheets like he was holding onto something invisible. Will it recover? The question came out low, controlled. The doctor exhaled lightly. We can't be certain. His nervous system is still fragile right now. The most important thing is not to stimulate him too strongly. He added, more firmly, avoid emotional shock. Avoid forcing him to remember. Let things return naturally. Zephyr didn't respond immediately. His fingers curled slightly at his side. How long? The doctor shook his head. We don't know. It could be days, weeks, or longer. Another pause. For now, the best approach is to cooperate with whatever version of reality he believes in. Keep him stable. That will give him the highest chance of recovery. Silence settled between them. Heavy. Zephyr's gaze lowered for a second before he nodded once. I understand. The doctor gave a final look toward Elric, then left the room quietly, closing the door behind him. Zephyr stood there for a moment longer. Still, unmoving. Then he turned. Elric wasn't lying down anymore. He was sitting up slightly, shoulders hunched, completely focused on the phone in his hands. His brows were furrowed in concentration, lips pressed together in a faint, thoughtful pout. Zephyr slowed his steps without realizing it. Watching, Elric scrolled through something, then paused. His expression shifted. Confusion, then a hint of disbelief. He stared at the screen a little longer. The contact name. Zephyr Knox. Saved as. Idiot. Elric blinked. Once. Then again. His fingers hovered over the screen, scrolling up. No messages. No calls. Nothing. Empty. His brows knit tighter. Did I delete everything? He murmured softly to himself. His voice was quiet, uncertain. Did we fight? The thought settled in too easily. Too naturally. His grip on the phone tightened slightly. Did I get mad and leave like that? Before he could think further, footsteps. Elric froze. His head snapped up. Zephyr was close now. Too close. For a split second, panic flashed across his face. Then, quickly, he locked the phone and shoved it aside, like it didn't matter. Like he hadn't been thinking about anything at all. And then, without hesitation, he moved. Zephyr. He leaned forward, almost clumsy, arms wrapping around him tightly, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. His grip was firm despite his weakness, fingers clutching the back of Zephyr's shirt as if afraid he might disappear again. I'm sorry, his voice came out soft. Immediate. Almost breathless. Zephyr froze completely. Every muscle in his body locked. Elric pressed closer. I shouldn't have argued with you, he whispered against his chest. I shouldn't have left like that. His fingers tightened. I was wrong. A small pause. Then softer. More fragile. Can you forgive me? Zephyr didn't move. Didn't respond. For a moment, it felt like he had stopped breathing entirely. The words didn't match anything he knew. Didn't match the past. Didn't match reality. And yet, they felt real to Elric. Completely real. His gaze dropped slightly, landing on the top of Elric's head, on the way he clung to him without hesitation, without defense, without that familiar sharpness that had always been there before. Something in his chest shifted. Unfamiliar. Dangerous. Then the doctor's words echoed back in his mind. Don't stimulate him. Cooperate with his reality. Zephyr's fingers twitched once. Then slowly, carefully, he lifted his hand and rested it against Elric's back. Light at first, then firmer. A pause. It's fine, he said quietly. The words felt strange in his own mouth. Don't think about it. Elric let out a small breath of relief. Instantly, his grip tightening again like he had just been saved from something he couldn't face. Really? He murmured. You're not mad anymore? Zephyr's jaw tightened slightly. No, a lie. Or maybe not. He wasn't sure anymore. Elric pulled back just enough to look at him, his eyes softer now, almost glowing with trust. I knew it, he said quietly, a small smile forming. You've always been the one who forgives me first. Zephyr didn't answer, because that wasn't true. Not even close. But he didn't correct him. He couldn't. Not now. Not like this. Because if Elric remembered, if everything came back, this moment would become something else entirely. Something neither of them could face. His hand remained on Elric's back for a second longer, before he slowly pulled away. You should rest, he said, voice steady again. I'll take care of things. Elric nodded immediately, obedient, trusting, like there had never been distance between them at all. Like there had never been anything broken. Zephyr stepped away, already pulling out his phone again as he moved toward the window. One call, then another. Efficient. Controlled. He's stable, he said into the phone, voice calm, measured. Just minor injuries. A brief pause. No need to come. I'll handle it. He didn't wait for a response before ending the call. His gaze lingered on the screen for a moment longer before dimming slightly. Then he lowered the phone, turned back, and looked at Elric again. This time longer, deeper, because now there was something else layered between them. Not just distance, not just misunderstanding, but a secret, one that couldn't be told, one that couldn't be exposed. Because when Elric remembered, when the truth returned, everything would change. And Zephyr Knox knew one thing with absolute certainty. He couldn't let anyone know. Not yet. By the third day, something had clearly changed. Not in Elric's condition. The doctors said he was stable, recovering well, but in the way he existed around Zephyr Knox. It started small. Too small to notice at first. Elric would reach for him without thinking. A sleeve, a wrist, the edge of his hand, like he needed contact just to feel grounded. Then it became something else entirely. Zephyr. Elric's voice was soft as always, but now there was something else in it, something clingy, something that refused to let go. Zephyr turned slightly. Elric was already leaning toward him, arms loosely wrapping around his waist, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Stay for a bit, he murmured, pressing his cheek lightly against Zephyr's chest. It's too quiet when you leave. Zephyr froze for half a second, then slowly exhaled. This again. You should rest, he said, keeping his voice even. You need it. I can rest like this. Elric replied immediately, tightening his hold just a little. It's better when you're here. Zephyr didn't move, didn't push him away either. And that was the problem. Because each time he didn't refuse, it became harder to. The doctor's words echoed in his mind. Cooperate with him. Don't destabilize him. But this wasn't just cooperation anymore. This was something else. Something dangerously close to crossing a line he wasn't sure he could step back from. Still, he stayed. And Elric smiled softly against him. Like that alone was enough. By the time they were discharged, Zephyr had already made arrangements. A private residence. Quiet. Secure. Controlled. It was easier that way. Safer. For both of them. Or at least, that was what he told himself. Elric stepped into the house slowly, eyes taking everything in with quiet curiosity. This is ours, he asked, turning slightly toward Zephyr. There was something hopeful in his voice. Zephyr paused. Just for a second. You'll stay here for now, he said instead. Slightly. Softer. But not calm. We're not sleeping together? There it was. Zephyr inhaled slowly. You're still recovering, he said. It's better if you rest properly. Elric stared at him. The silence stretched. Then his expression changed. Not anger. Not frustration. Something smaller. More fragile. His eyes dimmed slightly. So, we're sleeping separately? He asked again, quieter this time. Zephyr didn't answer immediately. And that was enough. Elric's fingers curled slightly at his side. Are you serious? His voice trembled just a little now. We're married. A step closer. Why would we sleep apart? Zephyr's jaw tightened. Elric cut him off softly. Too softly. His gaze dropped for a second before lifting again, more fragile than before. Is there someone else? The words landed lightly, but they cut deep. Are you seeing someone? And that's why you don't want to be with me? Zephyr's expression hardened instantly. No, too fast. Too firm. Elric flinched slightly at the tone, but didn't back away. Instead, his eyes softened even more. Then why? His voice broke just a little. Why don't you want me anymore? That did it. Zephyr stepped forward immediately, closing the distance before Elric could retreat further into those thoughts. His hand came up, steady, pulling Elric gently into his arms. Stop, he said, voice lower now, quieter. Don't think like that. Elric stiffened for half a second, then melted completely into the hold, arms wrapping around Zephyr tightly like he had been waiting for it all along. Then don't push me away, he murmured against his chest. I don't like it. Zephyr's hand rested against his back. Firm. Grounding. There's no one else, he said, slower this time. More controlled. I only have you. The words came out before he could stop them. And for a moment, even he wasn't sure if they were part of the act anymore. Elric pulled back just enough to look at him, eyes bright again, relief clear on his face. Really? Zephyr didn't look away. Really? A beat. Then softer. I just don't want you getting hurt again. Elric blinked, processing, then shook his head immediately. I won't. His grip tightened. Again. I just can't sleep without you. His voice dropped, softer now, almost embarrassed. At the hospital, I couldn't sleep well either. A pause. Then, quietly, I kept wanting to hold you. Zephyr's breath stilled. That was the problem. Every time Elric spoke like that, something shifted. Something he wasn't supposed to feel. Something he had no right to feel. He exhaled slowly. Fine, he said at last. One word. Low. Controlled. We'll stay in the same room. Elric lit up instantly, the tension melting off him like it had never existed. Really? Zephyr didn't answer. Because if he did, he might not be able to keep it together. That night was worse than he expected. Elric didn't just lie down and sleep. He moved closer. Naturally. Without hesitation. Curling into Zephyr's side like it was where he belonged. Zephyr, he murmured sleepily, one hand resting lightly against his chest. Still let it happen. His eyes closed slowly, a quiet breath leaving his lips. This is a mistake, he whispered under his breath. But his arm, still wrapped around Elric. And he didn't let go. Morning came too quietly. For a long time, Zephyr Knox didn't realize he had slept at all. The first thing he noticed was warmth. Not the kind that faded with distance. Not something accidental. It was steady, close, familiar in a way that made his chest tighten before his mind could catch up. His eyes opened slowly and froze. Elric Snow was in his arms. Not just close, not just leaning, curled into him completely, like he had been there all night. One arm draped over Zephyr's waist. One leg tangled lightly against his. His face pressed against Zephyr's chest, breathing soft and even, completely at ease. Like this was where he belonged. Zephyr didn't move. Couldn't. Because the last thing he remembered, he had carefully, deliberately pulled away. Waited until Elric was asleep. Gently untangled himself. Created distance. He was sure of it. And yet, here he was. Again. His arm still wrapped around Elric. His body still angled protectively without permission. Zephyr exhaled slowly. This was getting out of control. He shifted slightly, intending to move away before Elric woke up. A soft sound. Elric stirred. His grip tightened instantly. Like instinct. Like reflex. Don't go. He murmured sleepily, voice soft and unguarded. Zephyr stilled again. His jaw tightened faintly. I'm not, he said quietly. The words came out too easily. Elric relaxed immediately, nuzzling closer without hesitation, as if that answer was all he needed. A few seconds passed. Then Elric blinked, his eyes opened slowly, still half asleep. His gaze lifted and softened the moment he saw Zephyr. Morning, he whispered, voice still drowsy, still gentle. Zephyr nodded once. Morning. A pause. Elric didn't move away. Didn't even try. Instead, he studied Zephyr's face for a moment longer, expression soft, thoughtful, and then something brighter flickered there. Zephyr, what? Elric hesitated for half a second, then leaned in slightly. Can I kiss you? Silence. Zephyr's entire body went still. The question landed too directly, too naturally, like it wasn't something unusual, like it was something he should have been used to hearing. But he wasn't. Not from Elric. Not like this. His gaze dropped instinctively to Elric's lips, and that was when he noticed it. The faint healing cut. Still there. Not fully closed. It gave him just enough reason. Just enough control to hold the line. No, Zephyr said quietly. Firm. Elric blinked. His expression fell immediately. Why not? His voice softened, almost disappointed. Zephyr kept his gaze steady. Your lip isn't healed yet. A small pause. You'll make it worse. Elric froze for a second, processing. Then his brows drew together slightly. Not angry, just stubborn. Then, he leaned closer again, undeterred. I won't kiss there. Zephyr didn't react in time. A soft press against his cheek. Light. Warm. Gone before he could stop it. Elric pulled back just enough to look at him. Eyes bright. Quietly pleased with himself. That's fine, right? Zephyr stared at him. Completely still. Elric tilted his head slightly, watching his reaction with open curiosity. Or here. Another soft kiss, this time on his forehead. Gentle. Careless. Completely unguarded. Zephyr's breath caught. Just for a second. That was worse. Much worse. Because this wasn't accidental. It wasn't unconscious. Elric was choosing this. And that made it harder to ignore. Elric, Zephyr said lowly. A warning. Or maybe a reminder. He wasn't sure anymore. Elric blinked at him, then smiled softly, like nothing was wrong at all. What? He asked innocently. We're married. A simple answer. A dangerous one. Zephyr didn't respond. Because anything he said now would only make things worse. Elric seemed to take his silence as acceptance. He shifted closer again, completely unconcerned, arms wrapping around Zephyr's waist like it was the most natural position in the world. Come on, he murmured lightly, already settling back down. Just a little longer. His head found its place against Zephyr's shoulder. His body relaxed instantly, like it had found home. Zephyr remained still, eyes open, mind anything but calm. This wasn't sustainable. He knew that. Every second like this, every moment he allowed, was something they wouldn't be able to take back. And when Elric remembered, when everything returned, this would be the line they crossed. The point of no return. He exhaled slowly, closing his eyes. He should move. He should create distance. He should stop this now. But he didn't. Because Elric tightened his hold slightly in his sleep. Because his breathing slowed, softened, steady against him. Because for the first time in a long time, Zephyr Knox felt something dangerously close to peace. Hours later, he was still awake, watching the ceiling, counting the seconds, waiting for Elric to fall into deeper sleep. Only then, carefully, slowly, he moved, gently lifting Elric's arm, untangling himself inch by inch, like defusing something fragile, dangerous, important. He paused once, when Elric shifted slightly, but didn't wake. Zephyr finally pulled away, sat at the edge of the bed, ran a hand through his hair slowly. This was getting worse. Much worse. He glanced back once more. Elric was still asleep, curled slightly, reaching unconsciously toward the empty space Zephyr had left behind. Zephyr looked away immediately, then lay back down, this time with distance. Safe, controlled, necessary, and eventually, exhaustion won. His eyes closed. Sleep came quietly, without permission, and when morning returned, the warmth was back. Again, Zephyr didn't even need to look this time. He already knew. Elric had moved back in his sleep, curled into him, arms wrapped around him like he had never left. Like he never would. Zephyr stared at the ceiling, completely still. And this time, he didn't even try to move away. Because the truth was, he wasn't sure he wanted to anymore. It begins with a quiet morning that feels almost too normal. Elric Snow is sitting on the couch, legs tucked under himself, phone in hand, a soft smile lingering on his lips, as if the world has settled into something warm and safe again. The call connects. Hey, a familiar voice comes through, sharp, teasing, unmistakably close. Elric brightens instantly. I'm okay, he says quickly, almost before the other person can speak. I had a small accident, but it's nothing serious. A pause on the other end. You sound weirdly calm about that. Elric laughs softly, glancing toward the kitchen without thinking. It's because my husband is taking care of me. Silence. Then you're what? Elric blinks, confused by the reaction. My husband, he repeats naturally. Zephyr. Another pause. Longer this time. Zephyr Knox. The disbelief is obvious now. Elric nods to himself like it's the most normal thing in the world. Yeah, he's been taking really good care of me. His voice softens slightly, unconsciously drifting into something more intimate. He won't even let me do anything. Always watching me, making sure I rest properly. A faint smile tugs at his lips. He's really gentle. The silence on the other end stretches into something heavy. Elric. The voice comes back, slower now. Careful. Since when do you have a husband? Elric tilts his head slightly, thinking. Ah, right. A small, almost sheepish laugh. We just got married recently. Didn't get the chance to tell everyone yet. He shifts on the couch, voice lowering a little like he's sharing a secret. We're already living together now. When we have the ceremony, I'll invite you. On the other end, nothing. Just breathing. Then, finally, you and Zephyr got married? At that exact moment, footsteps approach. Zephyr Knox steps into the living room and stops. Completely. He heard it. Every word. His gaze lands on Elric, who is still smiling softly into the phone, completely unaware of what he just said. A split second. That's all it takes. Zephyr moves immediately. Give me that. His voice is low, controlled, but there's urgency underneath it. Elric blinks in surprise as the phone is gently but firmly taken from his hand. Zephyr. Go rest, Zephyr says, already turning slightly away. I'll handle it. There's something in his tone that Elric doesn't question. He hesitates, then nods lightly. Okay, a small pause. Then softer, almost shy. Don't take too long. Zephyr doesn't respond. He lifts the phone back to his ear, already walking further away. Hello. Silence. Then the voice on the other end returns, colder now. Explain. No hesitation. Zephyr exhales slowly. He lost his memory. A beat. Not completely, but enough to misinterpret things. Another pause. He thinks we're married. The silence that follows is heavier this time. Then, a quiet, sharp breath. You're kidding. I'm not. Zephyr's tone remains steady. The doctor advised not to correct him for now. It could destabilize him. The voice on the other end goes quiet again. Thinking. Processing. Then, and you're just going along with it? Zephyr doesn't answer immediately. His gaze drifts, just for a second, toward the hallway where Elric disappeared. Then back. For now. Another silence. Then the voice lowers slightly. Do you even realize what you're doing? Zephyr's jaw tightens faintly. I do. A short breath on the other end. Then, quieter. More serious. Elric has feelings for you. The words land carefully. Not fully explained. Not pushed further. But enough. Zephyr doesn't react outwardly. I know, he says after a second. It's not a lie. Not entirely. Another pause. Then the voice continues, firmer now. Then don't play with him. Not a warning. Not a threat. Just a statement. He may not remember right now, but when he does, this will matter. Zephyr's fingers tighten slightly around the phone. I'm not playing. His voice is lower now. More controlled. I'll make sure he recovers properly. A pause. Then, quieter. And nothing crosses the line. Silence. Then a soft exhale. Fine. A beat. I'll cooperate. Zephyr nods slightly, even though the other person can't see it. Thank you. The call ends. The room falls quiet again. For a moment, Zephyr just stands there. Still. Thinking. Then, footsteps again. Elric reappears at the edge of the hallway, watching him. Was that my friend? Zephyr turns slightly. Yeah. Elric steps closer, expression soft, a little curious. What did you say? Zephyr pauses. Then, the truth. Elric tilts his head. Which truth? A small, almost amused breath escapes Zephyr. That you're recovering. Elric watches him for another second, then smiles. Like that answer is enough. It always is. Later that morning, Zephyr is getting ready to leave. Suit jacket. Watch. Everything back in place. Like nothing changed. Like everything is still under control. I have to go to work, he says, adjusting his cuff. Elric stands nearby, watching him with quiet attention. You're going today? I can't stay away forever. A pause. Then, more firmly, you're staying here. Elric blinks. What? No going out. No unnecessary movement. Zephyr's tone leaves no room for argument. I've arranged leave for you. 3 months. Elric's eyes widen slightly. 3 months. Zephyr nods once. You need to recover properly. Silence. Then, slowly, Elric's expression softens completely. Something warm settles in his gaze. You really thought of everything, he murmured. You must love me a lot. Zephyr's hand pauses for just a fraction of a second, then continues, like he didn't hear it, or chose not to. Elric steps closer anyway. Take care of yourself too, he says softly. Don't overwork. Then, without hesitation, he wraps his arms around Zephyr's waist, pressing close. Natural. Familiar. You've been taking care of me all this time. His voice lowers slightly. It must be tiring. Zephyr goes still again. Elric tightens his hold just a little. Go to work, he murmured softly. I'll be good and stay home. A small pause. Then, almost reluctantly, but come back early, okay? Zephyr exhales quietly. His hand lifts. Rests briefly against Elric's back. Okay. Just one word. But it lands deeper than it should. Elric smiles against him, satisfied. Slowly letting go. But not before lingering just a second longer. Like he doesn't want to. Like he's learning what it means to miss someone. And Zephyr, for the first time, hesitates before leaving. Because something in that moment feels dangerously close to real. The house is too quiet after Zephyr leaves. Elric Snow stands in the living room for a moment, arms loosely folded, looking around like he's seeing it for the first time. Because, in a way, he is. It's clean, spacious, perfectly arranged, and somehow empty. He starts walking, slowly, from the living room to the kitchen, from the kitchen to the bedroom, opening drawers, checking cabinets. Not out of suspicion, just curiosity. This is our home, right? The thought feels warm, comfortable. But the more he looks, the stranger it feels. There are no matching mugs, no shared slippers by the door, no photos, no small signs that two people built a life together here. Elric pauses in the doorway, frowning slightly. That's weird, he murmurs. Married people don't live like this. The thought settles in quietly. Then, just as quickly, he shakes his head. Maybe we just moved in. Maybe we haven't had time yet. That makes sense. It has to. His expression brightens a little, like he solved a problem no one else noticed. Then I'll fix it. The decision comes easily. Naturally. Like it's something he's supposed to do. Not long after, he's outside. The air is light. The world feels normal again. He moves through stores with quiet focus, picking things out carefully, Matching cups, soft towels, a pair of house slippers. Even small things that make no practical difference but feel important anyway. A life. He's building a life. Piece by piece. And for some reason, that thought makes him smile. By the time he gets home, his arms are full. The kitchen looks different now. Warmer. More alive. Elric sets everything down, pausing for a second. Then something crosses his mind. A memory. Not clear. Not complete. Just a fragment. A co-worker. An Asian woman. Soft voice. Bright smile. I always make lunch for my husband, she had said once. He loves it. Elric blinks. The memory lingers just long enough to matter. Then he looks at the groceries again. I didn't make anything this morning, he murmurs. A small pause. Then, a quiet, determined smile. I'll make it now. And just like that, he starts. The movements aren't perfect. His hand still isn't fully healed. There's a small cut along his finger that stings when he grips too tightly, but he ignores it. Carefully. Slowly. He washes, chops, cooks. The kitchen fills with warmth. With life. With something that feels right. By the time he's done, the food is simple, but neat. Thoughtful. He looks at it for a second longer, then nods to himself. He'll like it. There's no doubt in his voice. Only quiet certainty. And then, without hesitation, he grabs his things and heads out again. Zephyr Knox's office is exactly what you'd expect. Controlled. Efficient. Quietly intimidating. Conversations lower when he walks by. Work flows around him with precision. Nothing out of place. Until Zephyr. Heads turn. Instantly. Zephyr looks up from his desk and freezes. Elric is standing there. Bright. Out of place. Completely natural. Like he belongs. Like he has every right to be there. And worse, he walks straight over. Without hesitation. I brought you lunch. Elric says softly, placing the container down like it's the most normal thing in the world. His other hand finds Zephyr's sleeve immediately. Holding. Anchoring. The room is silent now. Too silent. Zephyr's jaw tightens slightly. What are you doing here? His voice is low. Controlled. But there's tension under it. Elric blinks at him, caught off guard. I came to see you, a small pause. Then softer. And I made you food. Zephyr stands. Quickly. We'll talk outside. His hand moves to Elric's wrist. Not rough, but firm enough to guide him away from the attention. The moment they step into a quieter space, Zephyr exhales sharply. I told you to stay home. Elric's expression changes immediately. Hurt flickers across his face. I was bored, he murmurs. There's nothing to do without you. A beat. Then, a little sharper. And I made you lunch. He lifts the container slightly, like proof. Like something that should matter. You didn't even say thank you. Zephyr pauses. Just for a second. That's all it takes. Elric's gaze drops, then rises again, more fragile now. Are you embarrassed? The question is quiet. Dangerous. You don't want them to know I'm your wife? Zephyr's eyes darken slightly. That's not. Or is it because? Elric's voice softens, trembling at the edges. You don't like me that much? Silence. Then, without thinking, Elric reaches out and grabs Zephyr's hand, turning it slightly, and placing his own injured hand into it. The small cut is visible now. Red. Fresh. I even hurt myself making this, he says quietly. But you're still mad at me. That does it. Zephyr exhales slowly. Long controlled. The tension in his shoulders drops, just slightly. He looks at Elric's hand, then gently turns it over, inspecting the cut more carefully. His fingers are careful, controlled, but softer than before. You shouldn't be using your hand like this, he says quietly. Elric doesn't pull away, doesn't look away either. Then don't be mad at me, he murmurs. Zephyr's grip tightens, just a fraction. Then he lifts his gaze. I'm not mad. The words come slower this time. More deliberate. I just don't want you getting hurt again. Elric's expression softens immediately. Relief washes over him so easily, it almost hurts to watch. Then say that, he murmurs, stepping closer without hesitation. His arms wrap around Zephyr's waist again. Like always. Like he's learned this is where he belongs. Zephyr stills, then lets it happen. Just for a second. But next time, don't come here without telling me, he adds quietly. Elric nods against him. Okay, a pause. Then softer. But you have to eat what I made. Zephyr glances at the container. Then back at him. I will. It's enough. Elric brightens instantly. Like nothing else matters. A few minutes later, Zephyr walks him out. Carefully. Away from curious eyes. Go home, he says, voice lower now. And don't go anywhere. Elric nods immediately. I'll wait for you. A small pause. Then he leans in, close. Too close. A soft kiss lands against Zephyr's cheek. Quick. Natural. Like breathing. Work hard, he murmurs. I'll be good. Zephyr freezes for half a second, then exhales quietly. Go. Elric smiles, and finally lets go. But not without one last glance. Like he doesn't want to leave. And Zephyr stands there a moment longer than he should, watching him go. Because somehow, it's getting harder to let him walk away. The house grows quieter with each passing day. Too quiet. And for Elric Snow, silence is never just silence. It becomes space. Space to think. Space to imagine. Space to fill. So he fills it the only way he knows how. With stories. One drama turns into another. Soft music, whispered confessions, tangled marriages, misunderstandings that spiral into tears and then resolve into desperate embraces. By the second day, Elric isn't just watching anymore. He's learning. So this is what a wife does, he murmurs, curled up on the couch, chin resting on his knees, eyes bright with quiet realization. By the time Zephyr Knox returns that evening, the difference is already there. Subtle, but undeniable. He loosens his tie as he steps inside and stops. Elric is standing by the window. The soft light outlines him in a way that makes everything feel too deliberate. The fabric he's wearing is light, loose, barely there in the way it falls against his frame. Not inappropriate. Just enough. You're back, Elric says, turning toward him with a small smile, like nothing is wrong. Zephyr doesn't answer immediately. His gaze shifts away, then back again, controlled, careful. Why are you dressed like that? He asks evenly. Elric blinks, then tilts his head. Isn't it normal? He asks, genuinely curious. Wives should look nice at home, right? Zephyr exhales slowly. This is going to be a problem. Go change. Elric pouts faintly. You don't like it? A pause. Then softer, almost uncertain. I thought you would. Zephyr looks away again. It's not appropriate. That should have ended it. It doesn't. That night, Elric sits closer than usual, watching him, studying him. Zephyr, his voice is softer now. Slower. What? Zephyr doesn't look up from his work. Can I kiss you now? Silence. The pen in Zephyr's hand stills. His gaze lifts slowly, drops, to Elric's lips. The faint cut is still there. Not fully healed. You shouldn't, he says quietly. It's not healed yet. Elric doesn't move away. He tilts his head, thinking, then steps closer. Then I'll be careful. Before Zephyr can react, Elric leans in. Their lips meet. Lightly. Just a touch. Soft. Brief. Almost nothing. Gone in a second. But enough. Zephyr freezes completely. Elric pulls back slightly, watching him with a small, almost shy smile. See, he murmurs. It doesn't hurt. Zephyr doesn't answer, because his mind has already gone blank. That wasn't bold. Wasn't reckless. It felt natural, like it had always been allowed. And somehow, that makes it worse. Don't do that again, Zephyr says finally, voice lower now. Tighter. Elric blinks. Why? A pause. Because I won't be able to stop you next time. Zephyr looks away. You'll reopen the wound. Elric studies him for a second, then smiles faintly, like he doesn't quite believe it. Then I'll be more careful next time. That line doesn't hold. The next morning, Elric is in the kitchen again. Thoughtful. Focused. If we're married, he says slowly, as if reasoning something out loud, then we should mark each other, right? Zephyr nearly chokes on his coffee. No, immediate. Firm. Elric frowns. Why not? It's not necessary. But in the shows, this isn't a show. A pause. Elric processes that, then nods slowly. Then his gaze softens. We can have a baby instead. Silence. Absolute. Zephyr doesn't move. Doesn't breathe. No. He repeats, slower this time. More controlled. Elric sighs softly, like he's dealing with someone unreasonably strict. You're really serious, he murmurs. Other husbands aren't like this. Zephyr doesn't answer, because he doesn't know what other husbands are supposed to be anymore. That afternoon, his phone rings. He steps into a quieter space to answer. I've spoken to them, he says lowly. They understand the situation. On the other end, Elric's parents. Calm. Concerned. We'll cooperate, his mother says gently. Just take care of him. Zephyr's grip tightens slightly around the phone. I will. A pause. Then firmer. Nothing inappropriate will happen. Silence. Then a quiet breath. We trust you. The words land heavier than expected. Later that evening, Elric is on the phone too. Smiling. Soft. Mom. Zephyr pauses in the hallway. Listening without meaning to. Is it normal that he doesn't like it when I kiss him? A pause. Then quieter. Or when I get too close? Zephyr closes his eyes briefly. This is getting out of control. On the other end, his mother answers carefully. Every couple is different, she says gently. Don't rush. Elric nods slowly, taking it in. But if I don't try, he might think I don't love him, he murmurs. That sentence lands harder than anything else. That night, it almost breaks. Zephyr, Elric says softly, sitting beside him again. Why haven't I met your family? Zephyr stills. Completely. We've been busy. But we're married. Elric continues, voice calm but searching. They should know me. Zephyr exhales slowly. They do. Not a lie. Not entirely. Elric tilts his head. Then why don't I know them? A step closer. Or, his voice lowers slightly. You just don't want to introduce me? Zephyr's pulse spikes. That's not it. Then what is it? Elric's gaze stays on him. Soft, but persistent. Zephyr runs a hand through his hair slowly. Thinking. Calculating. They're out of town, he says finally. Elric pauses. Processes. Then nods. Okay, a small beat. Then softer. Next time, I want to meet them. Zephyr doesn't answer. Because he doesn't know if there will be a next time like that. Elric leans against him lightly, trusting, as if nothing is wrong. And Zephyr sits there, completely still, his mind racing through every possible way this could fall apart. Because the more Elric moves forward, the more he has to hold everything together. And the truth is, he's starting to lose control, not of the situation, but of himself. Because every time Elric looks at him like that, every time he says, I might lose you, every time he tries, even without remembering, Zephyr Knox feels something he was never supposed to feel. And fixing this situation is getting harder. Because a part of him no longer wants to fix it anymore. It starts with a simple request. Zephyr, can I come with you today? Elric stands by the door, dressed neatly, his voice soft but hopeful, like he's asking for something small even though it clearly means more. Zephyr pauses, fingers still adjusting his watch. Why? You said we're married. Elric answers quietly. Then I should meet the people in your life, right? The logic is simple. Too reasonable to reject. Zephyr studies him for a moment, longer than necessary, then exhales softly. Stay close. That's all he says. It's enough. Elric's expression brightens immediately. They don't go to the office. Instead, Zephyr takes him to meet someone he can't avoid forever. A friend. Someone who knows too much. They arrive at a quiet cafe, tucked away from the rush of the city. The moment they step in, a man looks up from his seat, eyes landing on Zephyr first, then shifting to Elric, and lingering. You actually showed up, the man says casually, then smirks. And you brought him. Elric instinctively steps a little closer to Zephyr. Zephyr doesn't hesitate this time. This is my wife. The words come out clean, natural, like he's already said them 100 times. Elric's heart stumbles at that. Wife. No pause. No hesitation. The man raises a brow, then lets out a low laugh. About time. Zephyr's phone rings at the worst possible moment. He glances at the screen, expression tightening slightly. I need to take this, he says, already stepping away. Stay here. Elric nods. And just like that, he's left alone, with someone who knows Zephyr better than he does. So, the man leans back, studying him openly. You're the one. Elric blinks. The one. The one he wouldn't shut up about. A faint smile. I was starting to think you didn't exist. Elric's breath catches slightly. He talked about me? All the time. The man tilts his head, then pauses. Though, you're not exactly what I expected. Something small tightens in Elric's chest. What did he say? The man shrugs. That you're difficult. Sharp. Hard to deal with. Doesn't listen. A small smirk. Kind of scary, actually. Elric doesn't respond right away. That's not. He starts, then stops. But I'll give him this. The man adds lightly. The good-looking part? Completely accurate. A beat passes. Then, almost casually, still, it's funny. Elric looks up. What is? That after all these years, the man says, he actually got you. Silence. Elric's fingers curl slightly at his side. What do you mean? The man blinks. Wait, you don't know? A brief pause. Then he shrugs. He was into you for years. Just like that. Simple. Unfiltered. Guess it worked out, he adds. From one-sided to married. Not bad. One-sided. The word echoes quietly in Elric's mind. He doesn't ask anything else after that. Not when Zephyr comes back. Not when they leave. Not even in the car. Because something inside him has shifted. Quietly. If it was one-sided, then it wasn't mutual. Then it wasn't love from both sides. Then what they have now, what is it? Not love. Not really. Just something that happened. Something he doesn't even remember. Choosing. That night, it gets worse. It always does when there's silence. Because silence gives room for thoughts. And thoughts don't stay still. They grow. Elric starts noticing things. Small things. The way Zephyr steps away to take calls. The way his voice lowers when he speaks to someone else. The way he says, "I'll handle it," without ever explaining what it is. It builds. Quietly. Until it doesn't. "Where are you going?" Elric asks one evening as Zephyr picks up his keys. "Work. At night." A pause. Something came up. Elric nods. He doesn't question it. Not out loud. But he follows. Just enough. Just far enough to see. Zephyr isn't at the office. He's somewhere else. Standing with another Omega. The realization hits before he can stop it. The scent is faint, but there. Not his. The Omega in front of Zephyr is speaking, animated, sharp, almost arguing. Zephyr doesn't leave. Doesn't interrupt. He listens. Closely. Carefully. Like it matters. Like they matter. Something in Elric's chest tightens, then hollows out. This is what it looks like. Not the quiet at home. Not the way Zephyr holds him when he gets too close. This feels real. This feels important. Elric turns away before they can see him. But the image stays. It follows him home. It stays with him even when he lies down. Later that night, the door opens. Zephyr walks in, just like always. The same routine. The same calm presence. "I'm back." Elric is already in bed. Lying on his side. Facing away. Just a quiet response. Nothing more. Zephyr pauses for a second, then steps closer. "Are you asleep?" No, short. Flat. Not like before. He doesn't turn around. Doesn't move closer. Doesn't reach for him. Zephyr stands there a moment longer than necessary. Then goes to shower. When he comes back, the room is dark. Elric is still in the same position. Back turned. Silent. Zephyr lies down. There's space between them tonight. Clear. Unmistakable. No arm wraps around him. No quiet voice calling his name. No soft insistence to stay closer. Just stillness. Zephyr frowns slightly in the dark. Something feels off. Like something is missing. But he can't quite place it. Maybe Elric is just tired. That must be it. He closes his eyes. Doesn't think further. Behind him, Elric's eyes are open. Staring into the dark. The word comes back again. One-sided. Quiet. Heavy. If it was never mutual, then what is he now? Not a partner. Not really. Just someone who happened to be chosen. His fingers tighten slightly against the blanket. But he doesn't move. Doesn't turn around. Doesn't reach for the person behind him like he always does. He just lies there. Still. As if staying quiet will make it hurt less. Beside him, Zephyr's breathing gradually evens out. Calm. Unaware. As if nothing has changed. And Elric slowly closes his eyes. Holding himself in the space where warmth used to be. That night, for the first time, he doesn't reach for him. Elric doesn't sleep that night. Not really. He lies there staring into the dark. Thoughts circling over and over until they blur into something heavier. Something harder to shake off. One-sided. Not mutual. Not love. The words echo until they start losing shape. But by morning, something shifts. Slowly. Quietly. Maybe he's overthinking. He exhales softly and sits up, sunlight slipping through the curtains and warming his hands. No matter what happened before, right now, he's still here. I'm his wife. The thought settles in his chest, grounding him more than anything else. Legal. Real. Chosen. Whatever that other Omega was, whatever that moment meant, Zephyr still came home. Still stayed. Still chose him. So maybe, I just thought too much. The conclusion feels simple. Comforting. Just fragile enough to break. The day passes quietly. Too quietly. And that's when the second thought begins to grow. Slow. Subtle. Dangerous. Because the more he calms down, the more he starts noticing something else. Something he ignored before. Something he shouldn't have ignored. 1 month. They've been living together for a month. Sleeping in the same bed. Holding each other. Kissing. But that's all. Just that. No more. No closer. No crossing the line that every story he watched insisted was natural. Necessary. Elric sits on the couch again, phone in hand, replaying scenes from the dramas he's been watching. Couples laughing. Arguing. Making up. Closing the distance completely. Physical closeness is important in marriage. The line echoes in his head again and again. His fingers tighten slightly around the phone. Then why? His voice is barely a whisper. Why won't he? The thought lands softly, but it doesn't stay soft. It sharpens. Turns inward. Or is it me? The question is small, but it cuts deeper than anything else. Maybe Zephyr just doesn't want him. Not like that. Maybe he's not attractive enough. Not enough to make Zephyr lose control. Not enough to make him want more. Elric lowers his gaze slowly. The quiet presses in again. He doesn't like this feeling. He doesn't want to sit here and keep wondering. So he doesn't. That afternoon, he starts searching. Carefully, quietly, like it's something a good partner is supposed to learn. How to make your husband love you more. How to be attractive in a relationship. How to keep your partner interested. The answers blur together. Confidence, softness, closeness, initiative. Elric stares at the screen for a long moment, then slowly nods. Okay. By evening, the house feels different. Not louder, but intentional. Zephyr steps inside, loosening his tie, and stops. Something is off. Not wrong. Just different. Elric. No answer at first. Then, I'm here. The voice comes from the bedroom. Soft. Slow. Zephyr walks in and freezes. Elric is standing there. Not dressed in anything inappropriate, but not normal either. The fabric is softer. Lighter. The way it falls makes everything feel closer than it should. Like it was chosen on purpose. Elric looks at him, a little nervous, a little hopeful. Do you like it? Zephyr doesn't answer immediately, because for a moment, he genuinely forgets how. Elric steps closer. Slowly, carefully, like he's testing something. I thought. He starts, voice softer now. Maybe I should try harder. Zephyr's gaze sharpens slightly. Try what? Elric doesn't answer directly. He just moves closer. Close enough that Zephyr can feel the warmth from his body. Close enough that it becomes difficult to ignore. I'm your wife? Elric says quietly. Right. The word hits differently this time. Not soft. Not innocent. But searching. Asking for confirmation. Asking for more. Zephyr exhales slowly. Elric. But Elric doesn't stop. His hand lifts, resting lightly against Zephyr's chest. Not pushing. Not pulling. Just there. Waiting. Trusting. And that's the problem. Because it would be so easy, too easy, to close that distance. To respond. To take one step forward instead of back. Zephyr's jaw tightens. His control, already thinner than it should be, starts to crack. Elric. This time his voice is lower. More warning than before. But Elric doesn't hear it that way. He hears hesitation. Distance. And it hurts. So he leans in. Just a little more. Is it me? He asks softly. The question lands directly between them. Am I not enough? That does it. Everything inside Zephyr snaps tight at once. He steps back immediately. Too fast. Too sharp. Creating distance like it's the only thing that matters. Stop. The word comes out harsher than he intends. Silence. Elric freezes where he stands. His hand drops slowly. The warmth disappears instantly. Oh, the sound is quiet. Small. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just understanding. And that hurts more than anything else. Zephyr turns away, running a hand through his hair. This isn't something you should be thinking about right now, he says, voice controlled again. You need to focus on recovering. The explanation is logical, reasonable, safe, but it doesn't reach Elric at all, because what he hears is something else entirely. You're not enough, right? Elric nods slightly. Too quickly. I understand. His voice is steady. Too steady. Zephyr doesn't look at him again. I'll be outside, he says, already moving toward the door. Distance. Again. Always distance. The door closes softly behind him. And just like that, everything collapses. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But quietly. Completely. Elric stands there for a long time without moving. The room suddenly feels too big. Too empty. Too cold. His fingers curl slightly at his side. The place where Zephyr stepped away from still feels warm. And that makes it worse. Much worse. Maybe, his voice is barely there now. I really am not enough. No tears. No sound. Just a quiet thought that settles deeper than anything before it. And this time, he doesn't try to fix it. The morning after feels heavier than anything before it. Elric doesn't get up right away. He lies there staring into the dark, the echo of last night pressing quietly against his chest. Am I not enough? The question lingers, unanswered. And this time, he doesn't push it away, because something inside him has already started to crack. He moves slowly that day, quiet, controlled, until a thought returns, small, simple, something he never questioned before. If we're married, the idea doesn't feel as solid anymore. It shouldn't, but it does. Elric stands in the living room, phone in hand, hesitating before searching. Marriage records, registration, confirmation. His thumb hovers, then taps. The results appear quickly, clear, cold, final. There's nothing. No record. No proof. No marriage. Elric stares at the screen for a long time. Not reacting. Just absorbing. Then something inside him settles. They're not married. Not legally. Not officially. Not at all. So everything he believed was just him. Just his assumption. just something he held on to because it felt right. A quiet breath leaves him. Empty. Maybe Zephyr never meant it that way. Maybe he just went along with it. Like he always has. Even when they were younger. Letting him say what he wanted. Letting him believe what he needed. Because it was easier. Because it didn't matter. Because it wasn't real to begin with. The room suddenly feels unfamiliar. So that's all it was, he murmurs. Not love. Not marriage. Just kindness. Just pity. And this time, it hurts enough that he can't stay. He grabs a jacket, opens the door, and leaves. No hesitation. No looking back. The sky is already heavy. By the time Zephyr realizes, the house is empty. Too empty. Elric. No answer. His chest tightens instantly. Something is wrong. He calls. Once. Twice. No response. He's already moving before the third call ends. The rain starts light, then turns heavy. The streets blur. Everything fades, except the one thing he's searching for. And then he sees him, sitting alone by the roadside. Soaked. Still. Like he doesn't feel the cold anymore. Zephyr stops in. Front of him, breath uneven. Elric. No response. He steps closer, grabs his wrist. What are you doing out here? Elric moves just enough to pull away. Weakly. Don't. His voice is quiet. Flat. Come home. I don't have one. The answer comes immediately. Zephyr's expression tightens. What are you talking about? Elric lets out a small breath. Almost a laugh. We're not married. The words are simple. Final. There's no record. Silence. Rain fills the space between them. So I misunderstood. Elric continues. Everything. He doesn't look at him. You just went along with it. A pause. Like you always do. Zephyr's jaw tightens. That's not. You don't love me. Elric cuts in softly. You're just being kind. Another step back. You always have been. The distance grows again. That's not true, Zephyr says, voice sharper now. But Elric shakes his head. It's fine. A pause. Quieter. I was the one who wanted too much. His fingers tremble slightly. I thought if I tried harder, you might actually want me. That breaks something completely. Zephyr steps forward immediately, closing the distance. Stop. His voice is no longer controlled. Don't say that. Elric still doesn't look at him. So Zephyr grabs him, firm enough to keep him there. Look at me. Elric finally lifts his eyes. And Zephyr feels it, the moment everything could fall apart. I didn't correct you, Zephyr says, voice low, tight, raw. Because I didn't want to break what we had. A breath. Not because it wasn't real to me. Elric freezes. This was never pity, Zephyr continues. Not once. His hand tightens slightly at Elric's shoulder. I love you. No hesitation this time. No holding back. I've loved you for years. The rain keeps falling, but neither of them moves. There's no one else, Zephyr says, voice steady despite everything. There never was. Elric's breath shakes. Then why? His voice breaks just slightly. Why did it feel like you didn't want me? Zephyr closes his eyes for a second, then opens them. Because I did. The answer is immediate. Honest. I wanted you every second. His voice lowers. Rougher now. Do you know how many nights I couldn't sleep, lying right next to you? Elric stills completely. Do you know what it's like to hold you? Zephyr continues, and not cross the line? A breath. Heavy. It's torture. The word lands hard. I had to stop myself. Every time. His hand lifts slightly, brushing wet strands of hair from Elric's face. Not because I didn't want you, he says again, softer now, but because I was afraid. A pause. Afraid that when this passes, you'll regret it. His voice tightens. That you'll hate me. Another breath. That you'll cut me out of your life completely. Silence. The rain softens just a little. Elric's defenses crack, fully this time. I won't. His voice is quiet, but steady. Certain. I would never regret it. His hands tighten in Zephyr's shirt. I love you. A pause. Then softer. I've always loved you. Zephyr doesn't wait this time. He pulls him in. Hard. Closing the distance completely. And then he kisses him. Not hesitant. Not careful. Deep. Real. Everything he's been holding back, breaking through all at once. Elric doesn't pull away. He leans into it, holding on to him like he finally understands what he's been reaching for all this time. The rain keeps falling. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because this time, there's nothing left unsaid. And nothing left to hold back. The moment the door shuts, everything snaps. Zephyr barely has time to breathe before Elric is already there, fingers gripping his shirt, pulling him in like he's been holding this in for far too long. Their lips crash together, hard, messy, desperate. No hesitation, no space to think, just need. Zephyr freezes for half a second, and then everything inside him gives way. His hand slides to Elric's waist, pulling him closer, pressing him back against the door as the kiss deepens instantly, overwhelming, consuming, like he's making up for every second he forced himself to stop before. Elric. The name barely leaves his lips before it's lost again. Because Elric doesn't slow down, doesn't let him. His grip tightens, pulling Zephyr closer like even this isn't enough. Like he's afraid if he loosens his hold, it will all disappear again. Don't stop. The whisper is soft, but it lands like a spark too. Something already burning. That's it. The last restraint snaps completely. Zephyr's hand lifts, fingers brushing the back of Elric's neck, tilting him just enough, and the kiss changes. Slower, deeper, more dangerous. Not rushed anymore, but controlled in a way that makes it impossible to escape. Like he's finally allowing himself to take what he's wanted all along. Elric melts into it, breath unsteady, clinging to him, every small reaction pulling Zephyr further in. The distance that once existed between them disappears completely. No hesitation, no reason to stop, only the heat building between them, rising, tightening, until everything else fades away. And this time, Zephyr doesn't pull back. Not when it gets harder to control, not when he knows he should, because Elric is right there, choosing him. And for the first time, he chooses back without holding anything in. Later, the world feels quiet again. Not empty, just still. The rain outside has softened into a steady rhythm, tapping gently against the windows. Elric rests against Zephyr, breathing slowly now, his hand still lightly gripping his shirt, as if even in rest, he doesn't want to let go. Zephyr's arm stays around him, holding him close, steady, grounding, but his thoughts aren't as calm. There's something he should say, something important. The truth lingers at the edge of his mind, but after a moment, he exhales quietly. Not yet. He needs to be sure. He needs to know it won't hurt him again. He'll ask the doctor first. He has to do this right. Elric. His voice is softer now. Elric shifts slightly, lifting his head just enough to look at him, eyes no longer clouded with doubt, only warmth lingering there. Zephyr watches him for a second. Earlier, you asked about the person I liked. Elric's fingers tighten just a little. Yeah, a small pause. Who was it? Zephyr doesn't hesitate this time. You. The answer is immediate. Certain. Elric blinks, caught off guard. But your friend said, that person was difficult. Kind of scary. A faint breath escapes Zephyr, something almost like a quiet laugh. That's also true. Elric frowns slightly. I'm not scary. Zephyr lifts a brow just a little. No. A beat. Who argued with me over everything? Elric pauses. That was different. Who refused to listen to anyone? I had reasons. Who was gentle with everyone else? Except me? Silence. Elric's face slowly turns red. That was because, he trails off, clearly unable to explain. Zephyr watches him, eyes softening. You were always like that with me. Not accusing, just remembering. And somehow that makes Elric even more embarrassed. I was young, he mutters. Zephyr doesn't push further. He doesn't need to. After a moment, Elric shifts again, quieter now. What about that Omega? Zephyr understands immediately. The one you saw? Elric nods. Zephyr exhales softly. He's a friend. And a psychologist. Elric blinks. What? I needed advice, Zephyr says simply. He's been busy. That was the first time he had time to meet. The pieces slowly fall into place. Elric's expression changes almost immediately. Oh, a pause. Then quieter. I thought. Zephyr doesn't let him finish. You thought wrong. Not harsh. Just certain. Silence settles again, but this time, it feels different. Lighter. Easier. Elric moves closer without thinking, resting his head against Zephyr's chest again, fingers curling into the fabric of his shirt. Zephyr, yeah? Don't push me away like that again. The words are soft, but they carry something deeper underneath. Zephyr's hand lifts instinctively, brushing through his hair. I won't. This time, he means it. A quiet pause stretches between them. Then Elric's voice comes again, softer. Then why? He hesitates. Why did it feel like you didn't want me? Zephyr closes his eyes for a brief second, then opens them again. Because I did, he answers honestly. Too much. His voice lowers, rougher now. Do you know how many nights I couldn't sleep, lying next to you? Elric stills completely. Do you know what it's like to hold you and stop myself? A breath leaves him slowly. It's torture. The word lands heavy. Real. I had to pull back every time, he continues quieter now. Not because I didn't want you, but because I was afraid. His hand moves gently, brushing damp strands of hair away from Elric's face. Afraid that when everything settles, you'll regret it. A pause. That you'll hate me. His voice tightens slightly. That you'll leave. Elric's defenses finally break completely. I won't, he says softly but firmly. His fingers tighten in Zephyr's shirt. I would never regret it. A pause. Then quieter. I love you. His voice softens even more. I've always loved you. The words settle between them. Warm, certain, real. Zephyr doesn't hold back this time. He pulls him closer again, pressing him against him as his forehead rests briefly against Elric's. Say that again, he murmurs. Elric doesn't hesitate. I love you. And this time, when Zephyr kisses him again, it's not desperate, not overwhelming. It's slower, deeper, certain, like something finally found its place. Elric leans into it, holding on to him just as tightly. No hesitation left, no doubt remaining. Outside, the rain continues to fall. But inside, everything finally feels whole. The silence after their confession doesn't last long because something between them has already crossed a line, and neither of them wants to step back again. Elric is the one who moves first this time. Not hesitant, not unsure, his fingers tightening against Zephyr's shirt as he pulls him closer like he's finally allowed to want this without holding back. Stay. The word is soft, but it carries everything. And Zephyr doesn't answer because he doesn't need to. The way he looks at Elric now holds no restraint, only certainty, his hand sliding along Elric's back, steady and grounding, no longer careful the way it used to be, no more stopping halfway, no more pulling back at the last second, and this time when he leans in he doesn't stop, the kiss deepening again, slower than before, but heavier, more deliberate, every movement intentional, every touch lingering like they're trying to memorize something they almost lost. Elric's breath turning uneven, but he doesn't move away. If anything, he leans closer, until there's no space left between them at all, and when Zephyr's control finally slips, he doesn't fight it. The night stretching on, not rushed and not desperate like before, but deep, steady, certain, like something finally settling into place. No more questions, no more doubt, just warmth, just closeness, just each other. And when everything finally quiets, the room feels different, still and warm, heavy in a way that makes it hard to move too quickly. Elric lying there for a long time, without speaking as his breathing evens out, but his mind doesn't, because something feels wrong, the thought arriving suddenly and refusing to leave. His fingers curling slightly against the sheets as his gaze lowers, the warmth from earlier still lingering, but something colder already creeping in. Zephyr. His voice quieter now. Different, and Zephyr turns slightly. What is it? But Elric doesn't answer immediately because the words feel unfamiliar. This was my first time. The room going completely still, Zephyr not moving or speaking, but Elric continuing, because once it starts it won't stop. And I didn't even think about it. I didn't question it, didn't hesitate. I just wanted you. The words not landing the way they should anymore as he lets out a quiet breath, his hand lifting then stopping midair like he doesn't know where to place it. I thought we were married. I thought it was supposed to be like that, so I didn't think. The silence thickening between them. Was I too easy? The question quiet but sharp enough to cut through everything, and Zephyr turns fully toward him, expression changing instantly. Elric. But Elric shakes his head. I'm serious. I didn't even stop to think. I just followed along, like I always do. And that's the moment something shifts in Zephyr, not physical this time but deeper, as he reaches out immediately, catching Elric's wrist before he can pull further into himself. Don't say that. His voice low and firm, not allowing it. Elric still not looking at him, but not pulling away either. I just don't understand why I didn't hesitate. Anyone else would have, right? And Zephyr exhales slowly before moving closer, not forceful, not overwhelming, just enough to close the distance. Because it's me. The answer simple and clear, Elric finally looking up. What? And Zephyr repeats quietly. You didn't hesitate because it's me, because you trust me. The words settling. Slowly. And because I love you. Not just now, not just tonight, but from a long time ago, his hand lifting to brush gently against Elric's cheek, steady and warm. You weren't careless, you chose me. Something in Elric's expression shifting slightly as the tension loosens. I chose you. And Zephyr nods without hesitation. Yeah. The silence that follows softer now, no longer suffocating. And Elric slowly leaning forward again, not desperate, not uncertain, just closer, resting his forehead lightly against Zephyr's shoulder. I'm still a little confused, he admits quietly, and Zephyr exhales softly. That's okay. His arm wrapping around him again, steady and grounding. You don't have to figure everything out tonight. Elric not answering, but this time not pulling away either. And for now, that is enough. The next morning doesn't begin gently. Elric wakes up feeling heavy, his body warm in a way that doesn't feel right, his head slightly dizzy as he shifts under the blanket. Zephyr notices immediately. You're burning up, he says quietly, his hand pressing against Elric's forehead, concern replacing whatever calm he had left. Elric blinks slowly, still half-conscious. I'm fine, he murmurs, but his voice is softer than usual, weaker. Zephyr doesn't argue. He just moves, efficient and steady, getting water, medicine, adjusting the blanket around him. Elric watches him through blurred vision, something familiar settling in his chest. This happened before, he says suddenly, voice faint. Zephyr pauses. When we were younger. A small breath leaves Elric's lips. I got sick like this once, and you stayed with me. The memory is hazy, but warm. Zephyr's gaze softens slightly. He remembers. Too clearly. You wouldn't stay still, Zephyr says after a moment, his voice quieter now. You kept saying you were fine. Elric lets out a weak laugh. That sounds like me. A pause. Then softer. You didn't treat me like I was fragile. Zephyr doesn't answer immediately. Because that part, he remembers too well. Back then, when Elric presented as an Omega, everything changed. The way people looked at him. The way they spoke to him. Softer. Careful. Like he might break. Zephyr had seen it. The frustration. The way Elric's shoulders would tense. The way his eyes would dim just slightly when no one noticed. And he had thought, if it were him, he wouldn't be able to stand it either. So he didn't treat him that way. He argued, pushed, provoked, treated him like nothing had changed. Like he was still the same person. You were impossible, Zephyr says quietly, a faint trace of amusement in his tone. Elric frowns weakly. You were worse. Maybe, Zephyr admits. A small pause. But you stopped looking so frustrated. Elric goes quiet at that. Then after a moment, he exhales softly. I hated it, he admits. Becoming an Omega. His fingers curl slightly against the blanket. Everyone treated me like I was weak. Like I needed to be protected. His voice lowers. Like I wasn't me anymore. Zephyr's hand stills slightly where it rests near him. But you. Elric continues, eyes half-lidded now. You were different. A small pause. You treated me like I was still just me. Zephyr doesn't respond. Because he doesn't know what to say to that. We fought so much. Elric murmurs, a faint smile appearing despite everything. I thought I hated you. You did, Zephyr replies lightly. Elric lets out another quiet breath. Maybe. Then softer. But you made things feel normal again. Silence settles between them, but it isn't heavy this time. It's warm. Familiar. Elric shifts slightly under the blanket, eyes slowly closing. But now, he murmurs, voice drifting. If things are like this, a small pause. Maybe being an Omega isn't so bad. Zephyr's gaze sharpens just slightly. What do you mean? Elric doesn't open his eyes. We can be together, like this, he says softly. No one can say anything. His voice fades at the edges. So it's not that bad. And just like that, he drifts off, sleeping peacefully for the first time in hours. Zephyr stays there a moment longer, watching him, something quiet settling deep in his chest. He adjusts the blanket one last time before standing. He cancels his morning schedule without hesitation. Stays. Makes sure Elric takes his medicine when he wakes briefly again. But by early afternoon, he doesn't have a choice. There's a meeting he can't miss. Before leaving, he places the medicine and food within reach, careful, precise. Then a small note beside it. Eat something when you wake up. Take your medicine. I'll be home early. Love you. He hesitates for just a second after writing it, then leaves. When Elric wakes again, everything is quiet. Too quiet. He blinks slowly, his body still weak, his head still heavy. His gaze shifts to the table beside him. The food, the medicine, the note. His fingers reach out, picking it up slowly. Love you. The words sit there. Simple. Familiar. And then, something breaks. Not outside. Inside. It starts small. A flicker. A feeling that something isn't right. Then another. And another. Until suddenly, everything crashes back at once. Memories. Clear. Sharp. Unavoidable. Not the soft version he's been living in. Not the gentle closeness. But everything. The arguments. The rivalry. The distance. The tension. The feelings he never said out loud. And then, the past few weeks. Calling Zephyr his husband. Clinging to him. Asking for things he never would have asked before. The way he acted. The way he Elric's breath catches. His hand tightens around the note. What did I? His voice comes out broken. His mind spins too fast. Too much at once. He remembers everything. And now, nothing makes sense. The warmth from last night feels completely different now. Too close. Too much. Too real. His chest tightens sharply. No. He sits up too quickly, the room tilting slightly, but he doesn't stop. He can't stay here. Not like this. Not when everything feels wrong. He doesn't think. He just moves. Grabs the first thing he can. Leaves. The door closes behind him again. But this time, there's no hesitation. No turning back. By the time Zephyr's phone rings, he's already halfway through his meeting. He ignores it once. Twice. But the third time, he steps out. The name on the screen makes his chest tighten instantly. Miles, Elric's friend. He answers immediately. Hello. There's a pause on the other end. Then, he remembers. Everything inside Zephyr goes still. He's at my place. The voice continues. He needs time. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Zephyr closes his eyes for a brief second. That's it. That's what he was afraid of. Don't come yet, Miles adds. Let him calm down first. Zephyr doesn't respond right away, because there's nothing he can say. When he finally speaks, his voice is lower, rougher. Okay. The call ends. And for the first time in a long time, Zephyr doesn't know what to do next. All he can do is wait. Wait for Elric to process everything. Wait for him to decide. Because maybe everything they had over the past few weeks was just a fragile illusion. A dream that only existed because Elric didn't remember. And now that he does, Zephyr exhales slowly, his chest tightening again. If he's lucky, Elric will still choose him. And if not, then at least this time, it will be a choice made with everything remembered. The first few days at Miles's place feel unreal for Elric, like everything between him and Zephyr has been put on hold in a way he doesn't know how to process. He doesn't talk much, spending most of his time by the window or curled on the couch while his thoughts refuse to settle, and Miles doesn't push, just stays nearby, sometimes bringing food, sometimes sitting in silence, so Elric isn't left alone with everything in his head. You don't have to figure it out all at once, Miles says one evening, setting a cup of warm tea in front of him. Elric doesn't look up right away. I already remember everything, he murmurs quietly. That's the problem. A small pause follows before he adds, softer this time. I don't know which version of me he loves. The words hang there, fragile and uncertain. Miles exhales slowly, leaning back against the chair. You think he only likes the you who forgot everything? Elric's fingers tighten slightly around the cup. That version of me was easy, he says slowly, like he's forcing the thought out. Soft, dependent, always clinging to him. A faint, bitter breath escapes him. That's not who I am. Silence settles again before Miles speaks, more firmly now. And the real you? Elric lowers his gaze. I argue. I push people away. I don't know how to stay. The word lingers like it doesn't belong to him. Miles watches him for a moment, then says quietly, then maybe that's exactly why he stayed. Elric doesn't respond, because a part of him already knows that might be true. He just doesn't know if he's brave enough to believe it. His phone lights up again on the table. Another message. He's lost count at this point. They come every day, morning, afternoon, night, never demanding, always steady. Did you eat? Take your medicine. Sleep early. I'll wait. Elric reads every single one, every word sitting heavier than the last. And yet he never replies, not once, because replying means facing it. And he's not ready. Miles watches him in silence before speaking again. You know his feelings are real. Elric nods slowly. I do. A pause, then quieter. That's why I'm scared. He exhales, staring down at his hands. What if that's not for me? Miles frowns slightly. What do you mean? Elric's voice drops. What if it's for the version of me who didn't remember anything? The one who called him husband, who needed him all the time, who made him feel wanted. His fingers curl tighter. I don't know if I can be that person. This time Miles doesn't answer right away, because there isn't an easy answer. Only the one Elric has to face himself. And for now, he chooses not to. But by the fourth day, Zephyr stops waiting. The silence has stretched too long, too thin, like something about to break. So he goes, no call, no warning, just shows up. And when the door opens, Miles is already there, leaning against the frame like he expected this. He's not ready. Miles says simply, Zephyr doesn't move. I need to see him. A pause. He doesn't want to see you. Zephyr exhales slowly, but his voice stays steady. Then I'll wait here. Miles studies him for a moment before letting out a quiet breath. You're both exhausting. A beat. This is your mess. You deal with it. And just like that, he steps aside and lets him in. Inside the house, everything is too quiet. Elric hears the door, the footsteps, and freezes instantly, his heart racing before he even turns around. He knows who it is. For a split second, he considers running. Actually running, leaving through the back just to avoid this a little longer, but he's too slow, just 1 second too late, because Zephyr is already there. And when their eyes meet, that's it. Panic hits immediately. Elric steps back. Wait. But he doesn't get far. Zephyr closes the distance in 2 strides and pulls him into his arms, holding him tightly before he can move again. Got you. The words come out low, rough, like they've been held back for too long. Elric stiffens at first, completely still, like he doesn't know what to do with the contact. But Zephyr doesn't let go, not even slightly. You don't get to run from me, he says quietly, not harsh, not angry, just certain. Elric's breath comes uneven. I wasn't. You were. Zephyr cuts in softly, a pause, then lower. And I let you. That lands. Elric's hands lift slightly, hesitating before resting weakly against Zephyr's chest, not pushing away, not holding on, just there. I needed time, he says finally, voice quieter now. You had it, Zephyr replies. Now you're talking to me. There's no pressure in his tone, but there's no escape either. Silence stretches between them, close, heavy, real. Elric swallows. What if I'm not what you want? The question slips out raw and unguarded. Zephyr doesn't hesitate. You are. Immediate, certain. Elric shakes his head slightly. You don't understand. That version of me. The one who forgot everything. He was different. A pause. Easier. Zephyr pulls back just enough to look at him. And Elric looks away. I'm not like that. I never was. Zephyr studies him for a long moment before answering. Good. Elric blinks, turning back. What? I didn't fall in love with someone easy, Zephyr says quietly. I fell in love with you. A beat. The one who argued with me. The one who pushed back. The one who never made anything simple. His hand lifts, brushing lightly against Elric's wrist. That's the version of you I've known the longest. Silence follows. Elric's defenses falter just a little. Then why? His voice lowers again. Did you look at me like that? Zephyr doesn't pretend not to understand. Because I finally had you close. The honesty lands without warning. Not because you were different, but because you stayed. That hits deeper than anything else. Elric's fingers tighten slightly against his shirt. I'm not good at staying. Zephyr exhales quietly, then steps closer again, closing the small distance left between them. Then learn, simple, steady, with me. A long pause follows. Elric doesn't answer right away, because this time it isn't confusion holding him back. It's choice, and slowly, his hand lifts, gripping Zephyr's shirt properly this time. Not weak, not uncertain, real. Okay, it's barely a whisper, but it's enough. The drive back is quiet, but not empty this time. Elric sits beside Zephyr, his fingers lightly gripping the edge of his sleeve, as if he's still afraid to let go completely, and Zephyr doesn't move away, his hand resting over Elric's without hesitation, steady and certain, like this is where it has always belonged. And when they step into the house again, Elric pauses just inside the doorway, his eyes slowly moving across the space he once ran from, not with fear this time, but with something softer, something more grounded. Zephyr doesn't rush him, doesn't speak, just stands close enough to be felt, giving him the space to decide. And after a moment, Elric exhales quietly and steps forward, deeper into the place he has chosen to return to. I left in a hurry. He murmurs, a little embarrassed. Zephyr's voice is calm, certain. You came back. And that simple answer settles something inside Elric's chest. He turns, hesitation flickering only briefly before reaching out, gripping Zephyr's shirt. Not weak, not instinctive, but deliberate. I'm still not good at this, he admits quietly. I might still argue, I might still push you away. Zephyr steps closer without breaking that contact. Good, he says, and when Elric looks up, confused, he continues. Because I didn't fall in love with someone easy. I fell in love with you. And the words land deeper now, not dramatic, not overwhelming, but rooted, real. Elric's grip tightens slightly. Then don't let me run again, he says softly. Zephyr answers immediately. I won't. And this time there is no pause, no doubt, only certainty, and that is enough. Enough for Elric to lean in first, not out. of fear, not out of confusion, but because he wants to, and Zephyr meets him halfway. Their kiss steady and grounding, not desperate, not overwhelming, just something that belongs to both of them now. And when they pull back, they stay close, breaths still mingling. "We should make it official," Zephyr says quietly, and Elric lets out a small breath of laughter. "Yeah, this time for real." And the decision feels simple, not because it is easy, but because everything else has already been harder. The following weeks pass in a quiet, steady rhythm. They sign the paperwork properly this time. No assumptions, no misunderstandings, just certainty. Their names written side by side. Elric staring at it a moment longer than necessary. "This is real," he murmurs. Zephyr glances at him. It always was, and this time Elric doesn't argue. Their wedding is simple, warm, surrounded by the people who matter. Not grand, not loud, but meaningful in a way that doesn't need to prove anything. And standing there, hand in Zephyr's, Elric feels something settle inside him, something he never quite allowed himself before. Not fear, not doubt, but the quiet certainty of choosing and being chosen in return, and life after that doesn't suddenly become perfect, but it becomes real in a way that matters more. They argue sometimes, small things, stubborn things. Elric still pushes, still resists, but now he doesn't run, and Zephyr doesn't let him. And slowly, something else begins to surface. Something Elric had buried for a long time. The softer parts of himself, the parts he used to hide. At first it happens without him noticing, leaning closer without thinking, holding on to Zephyr a little longer than necessary, resting his head against his shoulder when he's tired, asking quietly for things he used to swallow down. And one night, when the house is quiet, Elric pauses mid-sentence, suddenly aware of himself. "I've been acting different," he says slowly. Zephyr looks at him. "How?" Elric hesitates, then lets out a small breath. "Softer," he admits, "like when I lost my memory." The words linger between them, uncertain, and for a moment, Elric looks almost uneasy, like he's about to pull back again. But Zephyr doesn't let that happen. "That wasn't a different person," he says calmly. Elric looks up. "It wasn't." Zephyr shakes his head slightly. "No, that was still you." His voice is steady, grounding. "You just stopped holding yourself back." And something in Elric stills at that. "I thought that made me weak," he admits quietly. Zephyr exhales softly, stepping closer, his hand resting at Elric's waist. "It doesn't," he says, and for the first time, Elric doesn't argue, because deep down, he knows it's true. The version of himself that clung, that wanted, that wasn't afraid to show it, that was never something fake, never something temporary. It was just the part of him he never allowed to exist, and now, slowly, carefully, he lets it stay. Not all the time, not completely, but enough. Enough to lean in when he wants to. Enough to say Zephyr's name without hesitation. Enough to hold on to him without pretending it means nothing. And months pass like that, steady, real, until one morning, Elric pauses, hand resting lightly against his abdomen, something unfamiliar settling in his body. Not painful, just different. "Zephyr," he calls, and something in his tone makes Zephyr look up immediately, concern flashing across his face. "What is it?" Elric hesitates, then says quietly, "I think we should go to the hospital." And hours later, sitting side by side, fingers tightly intertwined, they hear the confirmation, and this time, the silence that follows is different, not heavy, not uncertain, but deep. Elric stares ahead, his breath catching slightly as the meaning settles. "We're really..." He trails off, unable to finish. Zephyr's hand tightens around his. "Yeah," he says softly, and something shifts again inside Elric. Not fear, not doubt, but something overwhelming in a different way, something fragile and real and impossible to ignore. And when they tell their families, there are questions, concerns, emotions that surface, but this time neither of them steps back, because what they have is no longer uncertain. It is something chosen again and again, and when the months pass and everything changes once more, it happens in the quietest, most powerful way. A small cry filling the room, sharp and alive and undeniable. Elric's breath catches as he looks down, something so small and real in his arms, his voice barely a whisper. "Zephyr." And Zephyr is already there, one hand steady at his back, the other brushing gently against the tiny form between them. And for a moment, neither of them speaks, because there are no words that fully capture what they are feeling, only the quiet understanding that everything they have been through, every moment of doubt, every time one of them chose to stay instead of run, led them here. Elric exhales softly, leaning just slightly into Zephyr's side. I'm glad I didn't run this time. And Zephyr's arm tightens around him, steady, certain. You didn't. He replies quietly. And this time, there is no fear left, no confusion, only the quiet certainty that whatever comes next, they will face it together. Not because they have to, but because they choose to. The house is quiet for exactly 3 seconds before the chaos begins. Zephyr. Elric's voice rings out from the living room, immediately followed by a much smaller but equally dramatic, Dad. Zephyr pauses mid-step in the kitchen, closes his eyes for half a second like he's preparing himself, then walks out calmly, though he already knows something has gone wrong. Again, when he steps into the living room, the scene is exactly what he expected, just somehow worse. Elric is sitting on the floor looking deeply offended, his shirt slightly wrinkled, his hair a mess, and wrapped around his leg like a determined little koala is their child. Aiden, who is currently giggling like this, is the greatest moment of his life. Explain, Zephyr says calmly. Elric immediately points at Aiden with full betrayal in his eyes. Your kid attacked me. There is a brief silence. Then Zephyr raises an eyebrow slightly. My kid. Elric turns to him, completely serious. Yes, yours. Look at this behavior. Exactly like you. Aiden, completely ignoring the accusation, tightens his grip and happily declares, Papa soft. Elric freezes. Zephyr doesn't. He almost smiles. See, Zephyr says lightly. Even he knows. Elric's face turns red. Instantly. Don't encourage this, he snaps, trying to pry Aiden off, which only makes the child cling tighter, laughing even louder. Papa soft. Papa soft. Elric gives up after 3 seconds, completely defeated, sitting there with his arms crossed like someone who has just lost a fight he never agreed to. I used to be intimidating, he mutters under his breath. Zephyr crouches slightly, effortlessly lifting Aiden into his arms with practiced ease. You still are, he says calmly. Elric narrows his eyes. That sounded fake. Zephyr ignores that. Instead, he shifts Aiden onto his hip and looks down at Elric, who is still on the floor looking mildly offended and very dramatic. You're sitting there on purpose, aren't you? Elric looks up at him without shame. Maybe. A pause. Then softer, almost like a habit he doesn't bother hiding anymore. Help me up. Zephyr exhales quietly, but offers his hand anyway. Elric takes it immediately, letting himself be pulled up without hesitation, their fingers lingering just a second longer than necessary. Aiden watches this carefully, then tilts his head and announces very seriously, Papa clingy. Elric chokes. I am not. You are, Zephyr cuts in calmly. Elric turns to him in disbelief. You're taking his side? I'm stating a fact. Aiden nods, completely convinced. Elric stares at both of them, then sighs deeply like he's accepted defeat on every level. This family has no respect for me. Zephyr's hand moves instinctively, resting lightly at Elric's waist, pulling him just a little closer. We do, he says quietly. Elric huffs, but doesn't move away. Prove it. There's a small pause. Then Zephyr leans in and presses a brief, warm kiss to Elric's temple. There, he says simply. Elric freezes for half a second, then immediately looks away. That doesn't count. It does. It doesn't. Aiden, clearly enjoying this, leans forward and plants a loud, messy kiss right on Elric's cheek. Papa. Elric goes completely still, then slowly melts, defeated in the softest way possible. Fine. He mutters, one hand coming up automatically to steady Aiden. I accept this. Zephyr watches the two of them quietly, something warm settling in his expression, not loud, not dramatic, just real. Later that evening, when everything has calmed down and the house is finally quiet again, Elric leans against Zephyr on the couch, half asleep, one arm loosely wrapped around him like it's the most natural thing in the world. Zephyr doesn't move, doesn't pull away, just lets him stay there. And after a while, Elric murmurs softly, barely awake, Don't let me run again. Zephyr's hand moves instinctively, brushing lightly through his hair. I won't. A small pause, then quieter. You don't anymore. And this time, Elric doesn't argue. He just leans in closer and stays.